Letting go of the past can transform your life with unexpected opportunities and joy. You're standing on the edge of a vast canyon. Behind you lies the familiar, old pain, regrets, and a tangle of memories that have shaped you. Ahead, an endless horizon calls you forward. But to step into it, you have to release everything that chains you to the past. What if I told you that by letting go, not only would you find peace, but you'd unlock doors to opportunities you never even knew existed? This is not just theory. It's a truth woven into the teachings of Christ, the wisdom of ages, and the raw realities of life. Let's go deep today, not into platitudes or surface-level feel-good talk, but into the profound core of what it means to let go, how it can transform you, and why it's the key to joy and fulfillment. We begin with a story, a man weighed down by his past. His name was Peter. You may know him as one of Christ's closest disciples. But let's not rush past his humanity. Picture this: Peter had spent years as a fisherman, living a simple but predictable life. Then came Jesus, with words that shook his world: "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Peter left his nets without hesitation. But following Christ didn't erase Peter's flaws. He was impulsive, prone to anger, and afraid of failure. And in one devastating moment, when Christ was arrested, Peter denied knowing him, not once, but 3 times. Now, imagine Peter in the aftermath. The guilt, the self-loathing, the shame of failing the man he loved most. Have you ever been there? Have you ever carried the unbearable weight of betraying someone you love, or perhaps betraying yourself? Here's the pivotal moment: after his resurrection, Christ doesn't meet Peter with condemnation. Instead, he asks him, "Do you love me?" Not once, but 3 times, one for each denial. In doing so, Christ offers Peter the chance to let go, to release the chains of his failure and step into a new identity. And Peter? He takes that step, becoming a pillar of the early church, a man transformed by grace. Now, let's pause. I need you to ask yourself a question: what chains from your past are you still holding on to? Is it a mistake? A missed opportunity? A relationship that ended in heartbreak? What's stopping you from letting go? Here's the truth: holding on to the past is like clutching a rope tied to a sinking ship. The harder you grip, the deeper you sink. Letting go isn't about denying the pain or pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing not to let the pain define you. When Christ told Peter to "feed my sheep," he was saying, "You're more than your worst moment. You have a future." Let me share another story. A woman caught in adultery is dragged before Christ by men ready to stone her. They demand judgment. But Jesus doesn't look at her with condemnation. Instead, he bends down, writing in the dust, and says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." One by one, her accusers leave. And Jesus asks her, "Where are they? Has no one condemned you?" When she says no, he tells her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." This moment is profound. The woman had to face her reality, the shame of her actions, but Christ's words allowed her to release that shame and step into a life of freedom. Can you see the pattern? The transformation begins not with punishment, but with grace. Not with clinging to guilt, but with letting it go. And here's the paradox: letting go feels like losing something. But it's actually gaining everything. When you release the bitterness, the what-ifs and the resentment, you create space for joy, for growth, for love. Think about it. If you fill a jar with dirty water, no matter how much clean water you pour in, it'll never be pure until you empty it out. But here's the challenge: letting go isn't easy. It's a process that demands honesty, courage, and faith. You might be thinking, how do I even start? I want to offer you 3 steps, simple, yet deeply transformative. First, acknowledge the pain. Pretending it doesn't exist only strengthens its grip. Say it out loud: I feel hurt. I feel betrayed. I feel regret. There's power in naming your emotions, in bringing them to the surface where they can be healed. Second, forgive, not just others, but yourself. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the wrong or pretending it didn't happen. It's about releasing the power it has over you. When Christ prayed on the cross, "Father, forgive them," he wasn't condoning the injustice. He was breaking its hold. Third, embrace the unknown. Letting go often feels like stepping into a void. It's scary. But the unknown is where possibilities live. Remember this: Christ's resurrection followed the darkest moment of crucifixion. The tomb wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Here's another deep question for you: what would your life look like if you fully let go of the past? Imagine the freedom, the lightness, the space to dream again. What opportunities could you seize? What joy might you discover? Let me tell you about Sarah, a woman I met who had spent years angry at her father for abandoning her family. The bitterness consumed her. It affected her relationships, her career, her health. One day, she decided she couldn't carry it anymore. She wrote a letter to her father, not to send, but to release. In the letter, she poured out her pain, her anger, and finally, her forgiveness. And as she let go of the hurt, something extraordinary happened. Her relationships improved. She found purpose in mentoring children who faced similar struggles. Letting go didn't just heal her, it allowed her to transform her pain into something beautiful. You see, letting go isn't just about freedom from the past. It's about opening your hands to receive the gifts of the present. It's about stepping into the abundant life Christ promises, a life of peace, purpose, and joy. As we end this part, I want you to close your eyes and think about one thing you've been holding on to. Picture it in your hands. Now, imagine opening your hands and letting it go. What does that feel like? Scary? Liberating? Both? Hold on to that image as we move forward, because the next part will take us deeper into the unexpected opportunities that come when we release the past. The door you never saw: how letting go invites miracles and unseen joys into your life. Imagine this: you're walking through a dense forest, clutching a heavy bag filled with stones. Each stone represents something from your past: regrets, fears, failures, and grudges. The path ahead is long and winding, but you can't move forward at the pace you want because the weight is unbearable. Suddenly, you see a small clearing up ahead with a stream of crystal clear water. You stop, drop the bag, and open it. One by one, you begin to toss the stones into the water. As the last stone hits the surface, you feel something unexpected: a lightness, a sense of freedom. And then, As you turn back to the path, you notice something incredible. A new trail, hidden before, has appeared. This is the power of letting go. It doesn't just free you from the weight of the past, it reveals paths you never thought existed. Opportunities, relationships, and joys that were once obscured by the shadows of yesterday come into view. Let's talk about miracles for a moment. Not the kind where water turns to wine or the sea parts before you, but the everyday miracles, doors opening where walls once stood, peace replacing chaos, love growing where resentment used to be. These miracles often start with a single choice, the choice to let go. Take Joseph, for example. His story is one of the most dramatic in Scripture. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, and imprisoned, Joseph had every reason to cling to anger and bitterness. Yet, when given the chance to confront his brothers years later, now as a powerful leader in Egypt, he doesn't seek revenge. Instead, he says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." By letting go of the desire for vengeance, Joseph opened the door to reconciliation and became a vessel for something far greater than his pain. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Think about a time in your life when you held on to anger or regret. Maybe it was a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, or a dream that fell apart. Did holding on change the outcome? Or did it keep you stuck, replaying the same hurt over and over? Here's the deeper question: what might you have missed because you were too busy looking back? Letting go is like clearing a fog from your windshield. The road ahead may still be challenging, but at least you can see it clearly. And sometimes, when the fog lifts, you discover turns and vistas you never imagined. I want to tell you about a man named Jacob. He was a businessman whose entire identity was tied to his career. For years, he poured everything into his work, long hours, sacrifices, and constant striving. But when his company collapsed, Jacob was devastated. He felt like a failure, haunted by the thought that he had wasted his life. For months, he couldn't move on. Then, one day, a friend gave him an unusual piece of advice. What if this isn't the end? What if it's a redirection? At first, Jacob resisted. But gradually, he began to let go of the idea that his worth was tied to his career. He started volunteering at a local shelter, teaching financial literacy to people trying to rebuild their lives. In helping others, Jacob rediscovered his own value and found a new sense of purpose. He eventually started a nonprofit that now helps thousands of people every year. Letting go didn't just free Jacob, it transformed him. So here's the question for you: what if the thing you're holding onto isn't just weighing you down, it's keeping you from something better? What if the door you're afraid to close is the very thing blocking the door you need to open? Letting go often involves risk. It's scary to release control, to step into the unknown. But here's a truth you can anchor to: the unknown isn't empty, it's full of possibilities. Christ himself taught this through parables. Like the story of the prodigal son. When the son returns home, broken and ashamed, he expects rejection. But his father runs to him, embraces him, and throws a feast in his honor. The son's decision to let go of his pride and return home led to a joy he couldn't have imagined. Letting go also requires trust. Trust that the universe, or as I believe, God, is working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. It's about believing that even when you release something, you won't be left with nothing. In fact, you might gain everything. Have you ever heard the story of the monkey trap? In some cultures, hunters would trap monkeys by placing fruit inside a narrow-necked jar. The monkey would reach in, grab the fruit, and refuse to let go, even though letting go was the only way to escape. The trap wasn't the jar, it was the monkey's refusal to release the fruit. How many of us are trapped the same way? Clinging to something we think we need, only to find it's the very thing keeping us stuck. Now, let me share something practical. How do we begin to let go when the grip feels unshakable? Here are 3 powerful practices. Release through reflection. Take a moment to journal or pray about what you're holding on to. Write it down. Be specific. Then ask yourself, what is this costing me? Sometimes, seeing the toll it's taking on your life is the wake-up call you need. Create a symbolic gesture. In some cultures, people write their regrets or burdens on a piece of paper and burn it as a way of releasing them. Others might release a balloon into the sky or throw a stone into a river. The act itself isn't magical, but it can be a powerful reminder that you're choosing to let go. Replace the void with gratitude. Letting go can feel like a loss, but every time you release something, fill the space it leaves with gratitude. Make a list of things you're thankful for, big and small. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. Here's the incredible part: when you let go, you make room for miracles. Think about the woman who touched Christ's cloak. Desperate for healing, she had to let go of fear, of doubt, of the voices telling her she wasn't worthy. And in that moment of faith, she was healed. As we close this part, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take one thing, a regret, a grudge, a fear, and commit to releasing it this week. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Or share it with someone you trust. Let it go. And watch what happens. Will the miracle be immediate? Maybe not. But I promise, the lightness, the clarity, and the opportunities that follow will be worth it. Living the promise: how letting go leads to a life of overflowing joy and purpose. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine waking up tomorrow morning with a heart unburdened by regret, anger, or fear. Imagine starting your day with the freedom to pursue dreams without the shadow of yesterday holding you back. That's the promise of letting go, not just freedom from the past, but a life overflowing with purpose, joy, and unexpected blessings. When Christ spoke of abundant life, he wasn't talking about wealth or comfort. He was talking about a life where the heart is free, free to love, to give, to hope, and to grow. This is the life that letting go makes possible. But here's the question: are you ready to live it? Because this life doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice, a daily practice of release, trust, and transformation. Let's revisit a moment from Scripture that captures this beautifully. It's the story of Mary and Martha. Christ is visiting their home. And while Martha is busy with preparations, Mary sits at his feet, listening. Martha, frustrated, asks Christ to tell Mary to help. But his response is profound: Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things. But few things are needed, or indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Here's the lesson: Martha was holding on to the idea that her worth came from doing, from being busy, from meeting expectations. Mary, on the other hand, let go of the distractions and chose presence. She chose what mattered most. How often do we miss what's truly important because we're clinging to the wrong things, our busyness, our pride, our fears? Living the promise means shifting your focus from what you can't control to what you can. It means pouring your energy into what brings life, not what drains it. This is where joy begins, not in perfect circumstances, but in a heart that chooses gratitude over grumbling, trust over anxiety, and love over resentment. But let's be real, letting go doesn't mean life becomes easy. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges or heartbreak. What it does mean is that you face them differently. You're no longer a prisoner of your past or your pain. You're free to respond with grace, to grow through difficulty, and to find beauty even in brokenness. Let me share a story about a woman named Clara. Clara grew up in a small town with big dreams of becoming an artist. But life had other plans. Financial struggles, family responsibilities, and health challenges piled up. And Clara found herself working a job she didn't love, feeling like her dreams had slipped away. For years, she held on to the bitterness of what could have been. It consumed her. Then one day, she decided to take a painting class, not to revive her dreams, but simply because she missed creating. That one small step led to another. And soon Clara was painting regularly. Her work started gaining attention, and she began to sell her pieces. Today, Clara doesn't just paint, she teaches others, using her story to inspire people to rediscover their own passions. Here's what Clara learned: letting go isn't about giving up. It's about making space for new dreams to take root. It's about trusting that even when the path isn't clear, there's still a way forward. And sometimes, that way forward starts with one small step, like picking up a paintbrush or reaching out to an old friend. Now, let's get practical. How do you live this promise every day? How do you let go in a way that leads to joy and purpose? Not just for a moment, but for a lifetime? Here are 3 practices to anchor your life. Embrace stillness. We live in a world that glorifies noise and busyness. But transformation happens in stillness. Take time each day to pause, whether through prayer, meditation, or simply sitting in silence. In the stillness, you'll find clarity. You'll hear the whispers of your own heart and the quiet call of God guiding you forward. Cultivate gratitude. Joy isn't something you stumble upon, it's something you cultivate. Start a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're thankful for. Over time, you'll notice a shift. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you'll begin to see the abundance already in your life. Serve others. There's a paradox in joy: the more you give it away, the more it grows. Find ways to serve, whether it's volunteering, mentoring, or simply being present for someone who needs a friend. When you focus on others, you'll find your own burdens feel lighter. And here's the ultimate truth: living the promise isn't just about you. It's about the ripple effect. When you let go, you don't just free yourself, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of hope, a living testimony that it's never too late to change, to heal, to grow. Let's end with one final story. A man named Paul was once consumed by anger and self-righteousness. He persecuted others, convinced he was doing the right thing. But when he encountered Christ, everything changed. Paul let go of his old identity and embraced a new one. He became one of the greatest messengers of grace and love the world has ever known. His life wasn't easy. He faced imprisonment, rejection, and hardship. But he lived with a joy and purpose that couldn't be shaken. So here's my final question for you. What could your life look like if you let go of everything holding you back and embraced the promise of something new? What dreams might awaken? What relationships might heal? What miracles might unfold? The choice is yours. The door is open. All you have to do is take the first step. Let go. And let the transformation begin.